During this video, I will be spoiling just about anything that occurs within this episode of Total Drama Island's newest season. I have done my best to ensure the title and thumbnail spoil as little as possible, but for the rest of this video, I cannot make any promises for this episode I'm talking about or any prior episodes in the same season if applicable. With all that being said, you have been warned. Hey everybody, Kiji here. Today we're going to be going over episode 6 of Total Drama Island 2023, the newest season. It's going to be our review, discussion, video. You know the drill by now. Let's get into it. So we start off with everyone talking in the dining hall, reminiscing on the whole mess hall explosion caused by the previous episode. We get a nice little moment between Priya and Millie. They seem to be growing a lot closer as friends, which is nice to see. They're a really fun pairing, I think, that we've seen so far. Julia is now full-on heel at this point. We saw a partway turn in the previous episode, but is now a full turn this episode, for sure. She hits Bowie with a burrito, as you can see on the side. That was pretty funny. And then MK, of course, has a smart comment. As always, does this mean you won't be blessing our morning burritos? Or something to that effect, and it's pretty funny. They get called to the challenge from that point on, and Raj and Wayne talk about these, fake beards that they wear to, because they'll have some at some point. It's something to do with hockey related. I honestly can't remember, but it's funny. These beards, however, end up getting stolen by MK. She ends up actually is implied to have been stealing a lot of things from her teammates, presumably as either dirt or, as the show implies, to sell later as Total Drama memorabilia. From there, we get into the actual challenge. This time, it's a catapult into pits that score them each team points, and the winning team is whoever hits a certain amount of points first. It's a pretty neat challenge. Very simple, but very effective. I enjoyed it a lot. I probably won't be talking much about the challenge itself because it's a very physical-based challenge, and so to talk about it would mean that I would have to explain the physicality of why certain things are funny, and that's just not something that's really easy to describe. But I will go over what I view as the highlights of this episode. Starting off with Chase being afraid of catapults. That was a pretty funny twist that I didn't really expect, and it resulted in quite a few funny scenes with him in particular this episode, as well as Emma, of course. The moment between Millie and Priya during their catapult segments was cute, and I'm just more and more enjoying their friendship as the season goes on, and hope we can see more of that in the future as well. After a little bit of a couple times of people getting sent off the catapult and stuff, we get MK kind of causing friction with Julia and Emma and whatnot, kind of being snarky, that kind of thing. Very Island Noah-esque, I guess you could say, but even then, it's I don't know. It's season 8. You would think someone like MK who knows the value of Total Drama memorabilia would know not to irritate her team to the degree that she does. It's an odd decision on her part, I guess you could say. From there, we end up seeing a glimpse of Bowie having really good acrobatic skills in a similar vein to previous Total Drama alumni, such as Svetlana, Zoe, or I guess not Zoe, so I'll say Svetlana. Actually, it would be Zoe. So Svetlana, Commando Zoe, Sean, and Sky. Those are the noteworthy examples I can think of. Bowie is very much similar in that element as a result, but it makes sense. I mean, right from the start, he's shown to be a pretty good basketball player, so it's assumed he's pretty physically fit and agile to some degree. So it makes sense that he would be also acrobatic to some degree as well. But him doing this was in an effort to get Raj out of a pit filled with sharks or whatever. And Bowie and Raj kiss when this happens. Before they get out of there, they end up kissing. We get the first gay kiss in Total Drama history between two characters that like genuinely like each other and that kind of thing. I don't recall if there has actually been two characters of like the same gender kissing each other in Total Drama prior, but this is definitely like the first like purposeful glimpse of it, and it's so awesome to see, especially in a show like Total Drama. It's so awesome to see. And of course, Wayne ends up having witnessed this secretly because, you know, Raj is still not at a point where he's ready to tell Wayne yet, I guess you could say. But Wayne ends up witnessing the kiss regardless, and that leads to him getting a confessional where he's all excited and that kind of thing. And again, it's awesome, not just Bowie and Raj, which we're gonna spoiler alert, neither of them get eliminated this episode, so I'm gonna go more in depth on that in future parts of this series, as well as probably a video essay or two on these two as a couple. But needless to say, Bowie and Raj has been handled very, very well. And Wayne is also a great element that they've added that I really appreciate. From there, we get a couple more catapulting, and we get to the lightning round, which is just if either team makes it into this point goal, then that team wins automatically, or something like that. It gives them enough points to win automatically. So both of the competitors knowing that both the teams knowing that, or deciding that they have to figure out which one they want to do. Team Trout ends up deciding that Z will go for the high point lightning round catapult landing spot. That was very wordy. You know what I mean. And then Team Frog is still deliberating, and then Julia decides to take matters into her own hands and try to fling herself into the high point value catapult landing spot that Z is also heading to. They get a couple fun interactions as they're flying through the air. Z says, "I've never been this high before," which was very funny. If you're familiar with Z and his behavior, you'll know why. From there, these two try dropping weight that they have on them. Julia ends up tossing a bunch of phones. Z ends up with a soda can, I think, in his hand at one point. But Z ends up also dropping his prosthetic leg, and that leads to him getting more than enough airtime to make it all the way to the catapult landing spot. Not before going through some weird visual, almost acid trip of sorts, caused by him getting struck by lightning. But he lands in the catapult zone and seems fine, so it's a funny sequence. It's much funnier watching than it is to describe. So from there, we kind of get a lot of moments with the frogs from that point on for the rest of the episode, as they're kind of deliberating who's going to get booted and such. They seem to pretty much unanimously agree that it kind of has to be Julia, which is understandable. I mean, she debatably cost their team the challenge and was generally the least liked player on their team, especially after her behavior earlier in the episode. At one point, MK describes her as being so mulo, which is really funny. According to her, it's a made-up word, but I still thought it was really funny and worth mentioning. However, as they're on their way to the elimination ceremony, MK says a word, that word being butt knuckles or something like that. And in a confessional right after, Julia catches on to her saying this, and it's like, wait, I'm the only person that says that, and I've only said it in the confessionals. The only way she could know that is if she has seen our confessionals or has been watching them. And so basically, Julia catches on to what MK's been doing with the whole watching other people's confessionals thing. And before the elimination ceremony, she digs around in the cabins, and sure enough, she finds all the stolen items as well as the phone, her phone with all the confessionals on them. Before we actually get to the elimination, Julia trails behind her team, and it starts trying to explain what MK's been doing and what she's been up to, trying to show off all the stuff she found, including the phone with confessionals on it, which Bowie chucks into a nearby lake. Yeah, and so, funnily enough, though, Julia is actually struggling to explain that MK is actually a thief and has been also watching their confessionals here, because, again, they may not fully like or trust MK, but they definitely don't like or fully trust Julia. And so, as a result of that, they actually start to side with MK more, which is somewhat of a reversal of what we saw with Scott and Dawn back in Revenge of the Island. It kind of reminded me of that. But Julia manages to somewhat win them over to her side by sort of starting like a... fear campaign isn't the right phrase. It's more like she basically, what Julia did is she explained that, or she's tried getting the team panicked into thinking that MK was watching them use the restroom. That's basically what I'm getting at, that she was trying to do here, and what she ended up claiming MK was doing as well. Somehow this actually works, and presumably narrowly, MK gets the boot instead of Julia. So, MK is our 6th eliminated contestant of Total Drama Island 2023, and I feel like the timing is about right. She's not completely incompetent in challenges, but she hasn't shown a lot either in the grand scheme of things. And I think that her purpose as seemingly kind of set up to be... I feel like it's safe to say that from the very beginning, MK felt kind of set up in an antagonist position. But then with Julia's heel turn here, it's almost like her taking over the role of main antag is complete by getting MK booted in this fashion. And so people may have an issue with MK getting booted pre-merge or whatever, and that's fine. But I think this is a really cool decision on their part, and the way they did it, I think, was really interesting and engaging. And I don't know, I just think it's really creative, and I think MK was used very well here. And mild spoiler alert, it's not the last time she's going to become relevant in this season either. So, again, I do think this character was treated very well this season. I like her characterization for the most part. I don't hate it. Every once in a while she'll make a comment that's like, that feels kind of needlessly rude for you. But most of the time I think MK is pretty funny, and she made for a really good addition to the cast as a result. Be sad to see her go, but, you know, that's Total Drama for you. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and share this video with your friends. Comment down below what you think of this episode, and let me know if there's anything you wish I talked about that I missed. And until the next one, peace.